Hey, this is Nick Millivoy.
And this is Jason Shadrick.
And this is the 100 Guitarist podcast, where every episode we're talking about one of the 100 guitar players that we think you should know. Today, we're getting about as foundational as it gets, as a couple rock and roll guys.
That's right.
Who comes before Chuck Berry, right?
I mean, he's a forefather of the rock and roll guitar that we know and love, that has informed, as I say, I think in the episode, there's kind of before Chuck Berry and then there's after Chuck Berry. And he's one of the people that you hear his influence and his style in guitar players who have never listened to a Chuck Berry album.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
You might have just seen Back
You hear
to the
his,
Future.
not just his style, not just his influence, you hear literal like note for note licks.
Yes.
From people who've never heard Chuck Berry albums, who
Never
don't
heard
know
Chuck
that that's
Berry.
what they're doing. Yeah.
So it's about as influential as you can get today with today's episode.
And to talk about Chuck, we have a really great guest.
Man,
this guy has played with so many people. He is 2 degrees from Chuck Berry, probably in a couple different ways. Not probably. And, you might know him best as we did as a member of the Dirty Knobs with Mike Campbell, a former subject of this here podcast. So today we're talking to great guitar player, great dude with lots of great stories, Jason Sinay.
The Neil Young story alone, Nick, I could just see your head exploding.
I know. I can't.
When he was telling
I couldn't handle it.
I mean,
either of them.
Either of them, yes.
He talks about Neil. He talks about Keith. Oh my God. I mean, about a guy who's been at the right place at the right time, right?
He's been in the room. In the room.
All right. Before we talk to Jason, we want to remind you can get at us by sending us a note to 100guitarists@premierguitar.com. You can also send us a text or leave a voicemail at 319-423-9734. And while you're watching this, or listening, don't forget to like, subscribe, rate, and review this podcast, and we'll keep coming.
And today's episode is brought to you by the Epiphone, inspired by Gibson Custom Electrics. Gibson's game-changing collaborations with the artists at Gibson Custom is expanding. They're excited to share some new additions to their core lineup, updated with features that make these guitars better than ever. They have new vintage gloss finishes, rosewood fretboards, USA-built pickups from the Gibson Pickup Shop, loads of vintage correct details, historically accurate Gibson open book headstocks. Headstocks make all the difference. And historic inspired cases even. These guitars bring custom shop quality to players everywhere at accessible prices. So these finishes, they are the new models feature new vintage gloss finishes that give them a more vintage correct appearance without looking overly aged. They look as if they've been purchased new and spent years sitting in a case that was safely stored away, just waiting for you to discover them. And the fretboards now feature rosewood fretboards for even greater authenticity and historical accuracy.
All of the models in the Epiphone inspired by Gibson Custom Collection feature U.S.-built pickups from the Gibson Pickup Shop in Nashville, Tennessee. They are the same high-quality, great-sounding pickups you'll find in U.S.-built Gibson and Gibson Custom models. Also, as Jason mentioned, all the models feature vintage-appropriate headstock shapes. That's the thing you've heard people talk about when it comes to Epiphone headstocks versus Gibson headstocks. People want to see that open book headstock. Well, from the authentic reverse Firebird headstock on the 1963 Firebird 5 reissue with Maestro Vibrola and the 1963 Firebird 1 reissue to the open book Gibson headstocks on other models, they give these guitars an undeniably authentic experience. Check out the full Inspired by Gibson Custom lineup with premium Epiphone models to complement their full array of instruments for players at every level. Visit Gibson.com for more details. And now we're going to bring on Jason. Okay. Jason Sinay, thank you for being here. I'm surrounded by Jasons. So
I think it's our first Jason guest.
I can't even say Jason S. So
nope.
I will refer to you both by your full names when I'm talking to you. Jason Sinay, thank you for being here today. I'm really excited to talk about Chuck Berry. Before we talk about Chuck, I want to talk about a couple things you have going on, because you have a fairly new, a recent album release. and The Mountain that came out, I believe, at the end of October, right?
Yeah, October 24th.
Yeah. And the first thing to put that on my radar, I believe, was when you released the recording of Cortez the Killer that you guys did, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
That caught my eye. I'm always going to listen to a Neil cover when it comes in my inbox. And
Love that.
so that got my attention. Good marketing there. I really like that version. It's pretty awesome.
Thank you.
Some pretty solid tones on there. And I love The Mountain. It's great. So it's a double album, right?
Yeah.
Half electric band, half acoustic. Tell us a little bit about that. What have you been up to with it? Have you been traveling around? What's going on with Mountain?
I mean, right now I'm just doing shows locally in Southern California, looking for some touring opportunities, getting the stuff out there, doing my lives on Instagram and Facebook. It's getting some airplay. We're on over 85 stations right now, so it's climbing up the Americana charts.
Awesome.
And yeah, I'm just really psyched about this album. It was really fun to make.
What was the inspiration behind doing the Cortez cover?
Well, we were in the studio tracking, and what I like to do is when we're tracking is just in between songs, just play something, anything, just start jamming. So I just started playing the chords to Cortez, and Martin Pradler, the producer, hit record right away. So I think he had the record. I think it was always on record. I think he just records everything. And it was unrehearsed. I didn't tell the band what we were doing. I had a live mic, and I just started playing it, and they just fell in. It was really weird. It was like
perfect,
good weird.
Yeah,
Neil's great at writing just like jam songs, like songs, you know, that you could just be like, somebody starts playing, okay, I got it, yep, cool. Even if you've never heard that song, within a little bit, they could pick it up real quick, you know.
Exactly, it's 3 chords, you know, and they just jumped right in, and it was so much fun. I mean, it was just extremely fun. I think it's completely live. And then I think I might have overdubbed a solo on it, but it's basically a live track.
Nice. Give us your top 3 Neil songs other than Cortez.
Wow. Well, I love a song called Soldier. A lot of people don't know that song. It's a really badass tune. I discovered it on the Decade album, which is like a retrospective that he put out, you know, like 30 years ago. It's hard to believe a retrospective, and he's like so prolific, still going. I love Cortez the Killer, obviously. And I love Everybody Knows This Is Nowhere, which I got a chance to play with Neil Young one time, which was...
All right, hold on.
Stop. This is
Quick
the podcast
stop.
now.
Time out. Now it's story time with Jason Sinay. Hit us up. How did you end up on stage playing that song with me?
So in LA in like the 2000s, Waddy Wachtel had a Monday night jam at this place called The Joint. And unbelievable lineup of musicians, Rick Rosas on bass and Phil Jones on drums and Bernard Fowler, you know, from the Stones, background singer for the Rolling Stones, and Blondie Chaplin, just all these great players. So Waddy would invite me to play once in a while, and which was a thrill because I'm a huge fan of Waddy Wachtel. And he would always have me do Neil songs because I love singing Neil songs. So we would do Powderfinger, and that night, it was a Monday night. It was particularly packed in there for some reason. And I'm in the middle of doing Cortez, and I'm looking in the audience, and I see this dude looking up at me, and it's friggin' Neil Young.
No.
Yes.
He's
And
in the audience hanging.
in the audience hanging, I am losing my mind. Then I had to play a solo, which I botched. It's all on video. It's hilarious because I just got so freaked out.
Oh.
We got through the song. That ended the first set. Then I ran backstage and hid. You know, I was just completely freaked out.
You got to be thinking, is that really him? I mean,
well, that's what I was wondering. I was like, was that really Neil? You know, it was packed. Rick Rosas comes up to the backstage, pokes his head in. He's like, Neil really liked you, dude. And I'm like, whatever. Next thing I know, you know, Waddy comes up and he's like writing out the set list for the second set. And then I'm sitting in the chair, and all of a sudden I look up and there's Neil Young. I'm a super fan. I'm not like a light fan of Neil Young. I mean, I've been a fan since I was 11. And he's like, I really like the rubber bands, man. I don't know what he meant by I like the rubber bands. Maybe the bends on the solo. And then he's like, do you want to do Down by the River? And I just,
Come on.
Come on.
I'm like,
Count it
should I
off,
play
Neil.
the,
Count it off.
and I'm like, should I play the Danny Whitten part? And I'll play a Telecaster. He's like, yeah, that's what Danny would have done. So next thing I know, we're on stage and we did literally a 30-minute version of Down by the River.
Yeah, you never want that to end.
It was unreal. And then we did Everybody Knows This Is Nowhere. And it was just like life-changing for me.
Dude,
Man,
how do you
come
come
on.
back from that?
never skip a Monday jam. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, never skip a Monday jam, ever.
Never skip a Monday jam. Wow. And
Now-
there was no heads up, obviously.
None.
Yeah.
None.
Have you ever
You
run
never
into
knew
him
who was
since?
going to pop in.
Have you ever run into Neil since?
I have not run into him since. I've seen him live since, but
Yeah.
I've not run into him since.
What a while you just intertwined for this like one evening with this like that's crazy, man. Amazing. I am also a Neil super fan. That's like I can't imagine being like in a I was gonna say I can't imagine being in a room with him. I guess I've been in a room with him, but I can't imagine being in a small room with him.
The thing that
Yeah.
trips me out the most is, people he know are in the band, but yet he still is like among the people.
Yeah.
He's not just like, it's not like you're playing and you look over side stage like it's happened at a million festivals or something, and you see some band that's, standing there, arms crossed, like checking out. He's just hanging out in the crowd, being like,
Yeah.
I know this song.
Yeah, it was surreal. It was completely a surreal experience. I'll never get over it.
Man.
So now, not to make this 2 degrees of Jason Sinay, but to pull this all together to Chuck, right? To get to talk to Chuck.
Yes.
Yep.
If you don't mind me asking, you've also played with Keith Richards, I believe.
Yes, I played with Keith. It was in the same club.
Don't even say it was the same jam. Don't even say it was like the next week at the jam.
It was a month later.
No.
It was a month later.
Dude.
And yeah.
At the same jam?
Same thing with Waddy Wachtel and actually Waddy wasn't there that night for some reason. So I ended up kind of doing most of the band leading, I believe, that night. And Jimmy Rip was there and a few other great players were there. And I'm walking up the stairs and here comes Keith Richards walking down and I froze.
Come on.
Right.
And then Pierre, his guitar tech, who I'm really friendly with, came up to me. He's like, Keith is using your rig. I'm like, whatever,
Sure.
whatever, absolutely. And he's like, you're going to play 3 songs with Keith tonight. Just hang on. I'll set you up. It was like...
So what were they?
They were Wild Horses,
Mm-hmm.
Jumping Jack Flash, and I think it was one of the songs off of I'm drawing a blank what the third song was, but a Voodoo Lounge song.
Okay, nice.
Oh, okay.
Nice. I was
Yeah.
hoping, I was like, are you going to say Little Queenie?
I wish.
You're right. Carol.
Exactly.
Man, that's got to be wild. I mean, there's a transfer of energy there. I think your playing doesn't recover from, right? Like something must happen in your musical DNA when you play with a guy like that.
Yeah, it was really incredible. I was playing a Gretsch, a 59 Gretsch,
Mm-hmm.
through a different rig than I usually play with. He was playing my 67 Strat and my 55 Telly, and they pulled off the E string, and it was just.
He did.
I didn't change that guitar for years. I just left it the way it was.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
But it was just incredible to feel the power of his rhythm guitar playing that close.
Yeah.
The driving force of Keith Richards was so powerful. And just staying out of his way and complimenting him. And It was a thrill. I mean, I had sparks coming out of my head that night. It was unreal.
Imagine. What a jam. All right. So never miss a Monday jam. Really?
Yeah.
Come on. All right. So now we bring it, like you're saying, back around
Mhm.
to our
Yeah.
topic of the day, Chuck Berry.
We're assuming you've never played
We're
with Chuck.
assuming, well, no. I'm assuming a month later,
Yeah, right.
Chuck showed up with a guitar and a just ready to rock.
But if I'm also assuming Chuck wanted to get paid, and that's why you haven't played with Chuck. He showed up. But
Never played with Chuck. Never got that opportunity. Would have loved it more than anything.
Right? Did you ever get to see him
I'm
live?
a super duper fan.
Did you ever get to see him live?
I never got to see Chuck Berry live.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think,
I think that's an interesting thing. A lot of people, I don't know that I've ever really talked to. There's only a couple of people I've talked to about seeing Chuck Berry live. Most people have not seen Chuck, but he actually was fairly easy to see live. If you went to him, you could have gone to St. Louis and seen him play through the end of his life, basically.
Exactly.
But it's like, well, none of us live in St. Louis, so we weren't there.
Yeah.
Right.
We weren't at that Monday night jam.
No, man.
But yeah, I was just getting prepared, watching clips from Hail Hail Rock and Roll, because that's probably the earliest. I mean, I think basically we've all heard Chuck since we were a kid. It's like, if that started with Run Run Rudolph, maybe it's like we've all had that in our musical DNA since before we can remember, probably. But like the first time I intentionally watched a performance of his would have been Hail Hail Rock and Roll. And I was I didn't rewatch. I've rewatched it fairly recently, maybe a couple months ago. And I was watching clips to just remind myself of the scenes. And I'm watching the clip of Keith saying, like, I never heard Chuck play a good live show.
Yeah, I know.
He said something like that. He's
hilarious.
like, I've never heard him even play in tune. He goes out, he gets these bands, these pickup bands. He never sounds good. I'm doing this to get him in front of a really good band. And so I don't know, maybe we didn't want to, maybe in any of our lifetimes we haven't wanted to see Chuck, and I think that's such an interesting thing. And that ties into a lot of, there's so much. I don't know if either of you have read there's a book that came out, a biography that came out a couple years ago that's really, really good, very big. I should have had it ready. I think I can kind of see it on the shelf over there. Very thorough biography of Chuck that goes through all the personality stuff and all the, he's a complicated guy with a complicated story. But when it comes to guitar playing, it's like I've never heard a bad guitar performance.
Oh, flawless, insane control, insane riffs. I mean, you can't pick up a guitar and not play some Chuck Berry. It's impossible.
Yeah.
As I get older and mature as a musician, I feel like I'm more likely than ever to pick up a guitar and play a Chuck Berry inspired riff. It's just like, that's like the elemental stuff that like my fingers have started to like veer towards. Like everything is like coming to this point where it's like those things are the things I like to play the most. And maybe I'm realizing they're like the most foundational things that are in there, whether it's via Chuck or via, I'm a big Stones fan, like that stuff is all coalescing into that.
Yes, fully.
So tell us a little bit about, what's your earliest memory of hearing Chuck Berry?
I mean, I remember in high school hearing, Johnny Be Good was the song that just, not even high school, probably like elementary school.
Yeah.
I remember hearing Johnny Be Good and being really struck, not just by the guitar playing, but by the songwriting, by the lyrics. I wanted to be Johnny Be Good. I wanted to be that guy.
Yeah.
And it just blew my mind. And I was immediately trying to play that shit. I started out I had a really bad Yamaha F45 acoustic guitar with high action that I played for 3 years before I got my first electric guitar. So I was trying to learn how to play, had a guitar instructor.
Yeah, right.
Oh my God. I'm really glad that's how I started, actually. It really helped me out later. But yeah, hearing Johnny Be Good just kind of changed my life. And I was, learning double stops and never really, I don't think to this day I can play it properly, honestly.
That's this thing that's probably one of the first things I felt like I had some kind of breakthrough in my guitar playing. And it wasn't even the lead part to Johnny Be Good. It was the rhythm part, just the basic little boogie thing with a power chord and your pinky finger. Like the first
Yes.
time I felt like I played that, that might have been one of the first like even recognizable things my parents heard me play. And it didn't even have to necessarily be, I mean, it was just a boogie pattern, but I was listening. I remember listening to Johnny Be Good, and really probably the first time I heard Johnny Be Good, Nick, was probably Back to the Future.
Hell yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I can't imagine, like, I remember seeing that scene, and that wasn't the moment where I was like, well, I'm going to be a guitar player, but it was one of the most memorable moments of that movie. And looking back, I'm like, oh yeah, I thought that was cool back then when I watched it. And now it's kind of coming, now that I'm, have become a guitar player, I can see how influential that style of playing was. Cause he was basically, copping horn riffs from big band stuff and kind of guitar.
Yes.
Yes. And it took me a while to kind of complete that circle to figure out where his influences or what he was hearing was coming from. But yeah, that's when you talk about I've never quite played it right. That's very true. Cause I mean, it's relatively simple, it's not an Yngwie solo, but to get the right feel and the right notes, it takes a bit of work and it takes a bit of study. Cause he has this like thing between swung and straight,
exactly.
I think in that Hail Hail Rock and Roll, I don't know if they talk about it specifically because it's Steve Jordan on drums for that, right? Yeah. That's kind of that feel is, it goes way past the notes,
Yeah.
There's
I was watching, speaking of the feel thing, they do a version of Little Queenie in Hail Hail Rock and Roll that, like, Jason, neither of us are singers, but you're a singer. Maybe you can speak to Chuck singing a little bit. His delivery, specifically of Little Queenie, in that, man, it's a real in between thing. I can't quite reconcile what's going on. It's just like the way he delivers the lines rhythmically. It's like it's kind of swung, kind of straight. He's kind of rapping. It's like this. And that, I think that's something like you were saying about like the songwriting of Johnny Be Good. Like, the lyrics and how he phrases them and how he puts them out there is unbelievable. And I don't feel like that gets talked about enough. It's like you talk about Chuck Berry, it's like, oh, the father of rock and roll, or rock and roll, the inventor of rock and roll guitar. But it's just the writing and the feel is so important, right?
Yes, the songwriting is, like Roy Orbison said in Hail Hail Rock and Roll that he considered him the first singer-songwriter guitarist.
Yeah.
First kind of triple threat guy.
Yeah.
Was Chuck. And I agree with you that the way he delivered the lines in that song, it is in between like a shuffle and a straight feel. It's like, it's just, it cuts, and the way those lines come out, they just flow in a way like no one else really that I've ever heard.
No. And I've never really heard people talk about like studying his vocal phrasing, but I think it's so unique. And I think, in a different life, if I were a singer, I think I want to go down that route and really get into Chuck Berry's vocal phrasing.
Yeah, it's stunning. I mean, I recently watched Hail Hail Rock and Roll. Actually, funny story. When that movie came out, I saw it in the theater with my bandmates.
That's awesome.
Yeah, there was no one in the theater. It was just me and my band. There was no one in there. And it was just, on the big screen, loud as hell. And we all went home and we were like, it freaked us all out so much. But yeah, it's, revisiting that and watching it again, was so mind blowing. And I was like, just so taken by these songs by Maybelline and, and just like, what did Bruce Springsteen say? Like, I've never seen a coffee colored Cadillac, but I know exactly what it is.
Yeah.
I love that line, just how, it's like, what did he, and Chuck said a really great line. He's like, poetry is my blood flow.
Yeah. He gets really
I
into
love
talking
that
about being
line.
into poetry. Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. There's that scene too where Robbie Robertson is asking him about like his lyrics, and he's like, where did you get this stuff from? You're singing about like Tchaikovsky. Like, how did you know
Yeah.
about Tchaikovsky? And Chuck, like, he doesn't give a straight answer. He's like, well, I went to high school and then I went to some college. I went to cosmetology school. And he starts talking about that. And it's like he doesn't answer like knowing about classical music and stuff. And having those reference points. But it's like he knows about that stuff, and he's, to put that in his songwriting, it's so deep.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It is. Yeah,
What do
I've
you
been
think-
doing a deep dive on him lately and kind of losing my mind over those old records.
So, Jason, let's talk a little bit about Chuck's tone, because to me, it really had this edge to it, but it was never like overly dirty. You know what I mean? He never
Right.
really, you never really feel like he was cranking those amps up as they go, but it definitely had this like grit to it. Do you remember your early memories of wrestling with tone in that way?
Tone has been, it's still something playing with Mike Campbell all those years, playing with a guy like that, talking about tone. I learned a lot about getting a tone from that
I
guy.
bet you did.
Yeah, right.
And I went through several rigs, to finally get a rig together. I'm still always working on it and messing with it. But with Chuck, it's like, it's so present, very, very present, very up in the mix, very clean. But like you said, it's got that grit, but it's, what was that guitar? Its first guitar, the 350, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, that guitar, that semi hollow body tone, through a Fender amp. There's just nothing like it.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really, that's always been a thing for a long time in my playing. And I guess we all kind of do this if you don't have access to all periods of gear. It's like, we have to build up our experience. For a long time, I didn't really understand like his sound or, anybody of that period, like what the sound really was or what it meant. And then, when I got a old amp from the 50s, and then it was like, oh, this is like a thing. And then for me, like I have this Tweed Deluxe that's behind here. That's a 1949. It's a 5A3. And it's like, as soon as when I played through that for the first time, it was just like, I need to buy this amp. It was an impulse.
Oh,
thing.
yeah.
Play it through it. It was like, I need this in my life. And it taught me so much. Like owning that amp has taught me so much, because it's like that you get the guitar right into an amp thing that like
Yes.
these guys didn't do anything. And it's like, but there's this feedback loop, not guitar feedback, but music energy feedback loop between just a guitar and one of those amps. And it's like, that's what Chuck's thing is. Like, it's so, like you said, it's really upfront. It's upfront in the mix, but it's also upfront in like how the guitar responds. It's really like forward, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's
And
very
that's
forward.
all the bends you hear, like how he does. And that's, also referencing back to Hail, Hail, Rock and Roll, when he and Keith get in that argument about like how to do the bends. But that's like, it's there. That's a real thing that's like present in that music. That's like, it happens a specific way, right?
Absolutely. It's so, again, like I try to mimic that stuff the best I can, and it's hard, it's not easy.
No, especially now. Like, it's just like using different guitars, different even different strings. It's like all this stuff, those variables actually are important when it comes to those details, right? When you're getting that detail.
Oh yeah. I mean, and I love your Deluxe, by the way. I have a 51 Deluxe that I pair with a 65 Princeton Reverb. That's basically been my main rig. That was my rig in the Dirty Knobs for 20 years, basically. And I've continued to use. Now I've added other amps. I added like a 2-rock, a third amp, and various amps. But there is something about plugging straight into one of those old, Tweed amps, that like that feedback you're talking about, that instant. It's right in your face. There's no reverb going on. It's got that beautiful mud to it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how to describe it, but it's like this brown tone that's so beautiful.
I think of it not to get too heady here, but it's like when you put, when you have an amp that wants effects in front of it, whether that could be as simple as, I have a deluxe, a 70s deluxe reverb here, and it's like that has effects in front of it, right? That has reverb and that has vibrato. And when you put that on there, you're sort of like sculpting a sound, and it's like a finished product that you're putting out. Whereas
Right.
like playing direct into like an old, really simple circuit, that's more like being a saxophone, right? It's not an acoustic instrument. You're not playing acoustic. You're playing an electric instrument, but it's more in line with like that sort of level of detail and that sort of level of like musical response.
Yeah.
100%.
So I think that's a thing that I hear, like, I fun by the Beach Boys, right?
Yeah.
It starts with the Johnny B. Goodluck,
Yep.
right? And it's like you can hear, I love the evolution of it. It's like, that lick comes from like Louis Jordan, and then it's like,
Yep.
there's other stops in between. I had some notes from a couple years ago. I was like tripping on this thing, and I had like some lists of songs that used that lick. I swear that there's a recording of Charlie Christian playing that lick, but I wasn't able to find it for today.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Charlie Christian played that lick, whether that was referencing something or it was just something his fingers did. I don't know, but I swear there's that. But then there's there's the Louis Jordan song that has it, and then it's like there's Chuck playing it, and then you hear fun in the Beach Boys, and it's like it sounds like stratty surf thing, and it's
Yeah.
just like you can hear the evolution. It's not the same, like the notes are there, but it's not the same thing. It's not played with the same vibe and attitude.
No, it's not. It's different, but it certainly brings you right back,
For sure. I love
Yeah.
which is amazing.
Yeah.
And really, there are like very few guitar players who seem to have a ubiquitous influence over everything that came after. Like,
Right.
you hear, if you were to just turn the gain up on some of Chuck's solos, you'd be like, oh, maybe Tony Iommi or Brian May heard some of that. You know what I mean? Like, where have you maybe discovered, and maybe in your playing, Jason, Chuck's real, where does his influence maybe pop up the most for you in your own playing?
Well, it's funny. I mean, I did a gig the other night with my band, and we were opening for this band called Dragon Smoke, which is one of Ivan Neville's projects, with Stanton Moore on drums.
Yeah.
He absolutely blew my head off. The guy was so badass. And I have this song I did on my second record. It's called Hey Mama. And it's like, I didn't know what to do solo wise on this song. I was a little stuck. And I was like, what would Chuck do? Like, what would Chuck Berry play on this? And I don't play like Chuck Berry. I can't play like Chuck Berry if I tried. But it really influenced me, and it brought me to this double stop kind of jam and a couple riffs in there that were melodic, that are just basically stolen from what my inspiration was from Chuck Berry.
Mm-hmm.
And this gig we did the other night, we played that song, and I just happened to watch Hail, Hail, Rock and Roll. So I was like, it was kind of like, I think I was trying to do Keith through Chuck,
I mean, and you're not the only one. It's just like those Chuck Berry's vibe and licks have just permeated all types of guitar music. You know what I mean? And just by playing those licks through a completely different amp and guitar, you kind
Right.
of see where his influence has popped up over the years. And there are very few guitar players who you could say kind of have that rarefied air that just kind of, there's before Chuck and then after Chuck,
100%. Yeah. I mean, I don't know who else has had such a profound impact like that on rock and roll.
Yeah.
Right.
Maybe not. Maybe not.
I mean,
anything.
I'd put Keith in that bucket.
Yeah,
You know,
100%.
even though their styles are, I mean, you can definitely hear the Chuck
It's a
Berry and
lineage,
Keith
yeah.
playing. You know, but one of the things, or kind of our goal with some of these episodes, Jason, is to, if somebody has never heard whoever we're talking about and they come across this episode, what recordings, albums, songs would you point them to as a way to kind of open up their mind to what Chuck Berry is about? And it's funny because with some of these real legacy artists, I find their best record is just like their greatest hits record.
Right.
You know, because he didn't
Yeah.
put out, like, he put out a lot of stuff early on, 50s and 60s. He was pretty prolific. He came out with, you know, the great 28 or whatever. And then between the mid to late 70s and through his death, he put out the one record right before he died, but the one before that was like late 70s.
Really?
So-
Wow.
Yeah, so he wasn't like
There wasn't
super
an
prolific.
80s record.
But there might have been like one here. I was looking this up.
Yeah, I'm bad at the title.
There was 79. Rocket was 79.
Oh, that was
Wow.
79. Okay, I was thinking
Right.
that's the one I was
And
thinking
then the Chuck record, which was interesting because I remember I was here and we got the press release about it. And I know we tried to get an interview. And then between them announcing the record and it coming out is when he died.
of.
Oh, wow. Wow.
You know. But it was interesting because Tom Morello was on that record. Nathaniel Ratliff was on that last record. You know, so it seemed like Chuck at least had an ear to what was going on nowadays in guitar and music. But for me, if I'm really want to turn somebody on to kind of the essence of Chuck Berry, it's probably two things. It's probably a greatest hits compilation and Hail Hail Rock and Roll.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
Yeah.
those two to me give you a picture of kind of where he was in his heyday, so to speak, you know, and the kind of appreciation and influence where he ended up at later in life, you know, with Keith and everybody,
Yeah.
you know, paying their respects.
Yeah. And there's certain songs that really stick out to me, you know, as I've been kind of doing a deep dive on Chuck and refreshing my palette. You know, like Roll Over Beethoven is a song that, like, someone who's new to Chuck may want to check out. Nadine is one of my favorites. It might be my favorite Chuck Berry song, I think, is Nadine.
Yeah. Right.
I absolutely love that. Little Queenie, Brown Eyed Handsome Man, Too Much Monkey Business. All those songs are they're just stunning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They are.
They really are. I like School Days a lot.
Yes.
School Days is cool. I like Go Johnny Go. That was on my. And I tell you what, if I were to really nail it down, to me, I think the stuff he did on Chess Records was his best stuff.
Yeah, the Chess period.
The Chess period was really good. I'd point people to the Chess period, and like I said, Hail Hail, Rock and Roll. You know.
Yeah, that's a must see.
Here's some other fun facts I discovered. Do you know how many Grammys Chuck Berry won in his life?
No idea.
0.
Whoa.
He just
Not
got
even
the,
like a
he,
Lifetime Achievement
he just got the
Award?
Lifetime Achievement Award.
Oh, okay.
He never like put out something and won a Grammy for it, you know, which is kind of mind-boggling. But I feel like there's a lot of those type of artists littered throughout the history of the Grammys.
Yeah.
But fittingly, he was the first musician inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Really? Okay, that's beautiful.
That better be right. Like,
I mean, how could you not?
yeah.
You know,
He's the guy.
Yeah.
All right.
All
So
right.
we're wrapping up here, Jason. We appreciate you taking the time to talk to us about Chuck and all your memories, and even throwing in a couple Neil Young and Keith Richards stories, which are amazing. Where can people go online to find out more about you and your music and albums and everything, Jason Sinay?
Well, I have a website. It's my name, jasonsinay.com.
Yep, we'll link it
And
below.
thank you. That's amazing. And I'm pretty active on Instagram, you know, under
Cool.
Jason Sinay. I post a lot. I do live feeds all the time, and post shows and clips of songs, and I like the Instagram. It's kind of fun.
Yeah, that's how you first came on my radar. It's like I saw you on Instagram and then eventually realized, oh, that's the guy from the Dirty Knobs. And like, oh, that guy.
Dig it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks again,
Cool,
Jason,
man.
so
Well,
much.
thank you, Jason.
Thank you guys.
For hanging and talking. This was a blast.
Yeah. Thank you.
So much fun. I really appreciate you guys. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you to Jason Sinay for joining us. That was a great conversation.
Woo.
Thank you for those stories. I'm going to be haunted by the idea that if I lived in Los Angeles, somebody like Neil Young or Keith Richards could just walk into the room. I don't think that really happens in Philly. That doesn't happen in Philadelphia. I've heard 70s. David Bowie could have walked into the room. Maybe even Mick and Keith if they were in town. But
it's probably more likely. It's probably very likely. You're at a jam on a Tuesday night, South Philly, and you look over and there's Jason Kelce.
Oh yeah,
I
ran into Jason Kelce. I didn't run into him personally. I saw his car. I saw him pulling away from my neighbor's house just a couple weeks ago. So I can walk around the corner with the dogs and run into
him. Right? He's the Neil Young of Philly. That's what people have been calling him. He's the Neil Young of Philly.
The Willie Nelson of Philly, even.
So yes, thanks, Jason. Great stories. Great insight on Chuck Berry. You're welcome back anytime.
Don't forget, you can get at us, 100 Guitarists, at premierguitar.com. And the number is 319-423-9734. And would like to thank Gibson once again for sponsoring this episode. Until next time.
All right. We'll see you next time.